The night rain in lower Manhattan didn't fall so much as whisper, turning every puddle into a trembling reflection of the city that never really slept. Streetlight halos blurred into gold smudges on wet pavement as the hum of traffic softened into the background. Bus brakes hissed somewhere near Canal Street. A distant siren wailed and faded. Inside Midnight Diner, a narrow 24-hour spot tucked between a pawn shop and a smoke shop. Emily Harris wiped fog from the front window with the sleeve of her dark maroon waitress uniform. She was 26, tired but composed in that way people become when life doesn't ask politely before handing out hardship. Her fingers were trembling slightly, not from fear, but from another double shift stitched onto the end of a week of them. The bell above the diner door chimed. 3 men walked in, bringing the night's cold air with them. They weren't drunk, but they carried that rowdy confidence of men who knew the world rarely told them no. The leader, Troy Benner, tall, athletic, Wall Street haircut, leaned against the counter with a smirk already forming. "What's up, sweetheart?" he said, tapping twice on the counter like ringing a bell for service. Emily swallowed, kept her voice steady. "Evening. Table or counter? Does it matter?" Troy said, glancing at his friends. "We came for the entertainment." His buddies snickered. Behind them, sitting alone in the corner booth with a black hoodie and rain-wet shoes, a quiet man lifted his eyes. Noah Reed, early 30s, clean-shaven, calm, observing. He had come for warmth and coffee, not conflict, but the city didn't always negotiate. Emily grabbed menus. "This way," she said softly to as she passed Noah's booth. They exchanged the briefest glance. Her eyes held exhaustion. His held awareness. The Bullies slid into a booth. Immediately, Troy flicked a coin across the table. It clattered sharply, echoing in the small diner. "Oops," he said, staring at Emily. "Think you dropped something." Her breath hitched, just for half a second, before she bent down to pick the coin up. No one noticed the way her hand paused on the floor. A quiet after a harsh statement. When she stood, she forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "What can I get you?" Troy leaned back, arms stretched wide. "How about your number?" "Coffee." She countered gently. He laughed. "Coffee? Sure. But bring it with a smile next time." Another coin flicked. This one hit her wrist. She flinched. Noah watched. Fingers tightening slightly around his ceramic mug. The rain outside grew louder, drumming on the awning. Emily moved to the counter, exhaled shakily, and poured coffee. Her shoulders were stiff, a tension learned over years of dealing with the entitled. Halfway back to the Bullies table, another customer entered, a middle-aged taxi driver who nodded at her kindly. Her smile returned, faintly, like a candle relit. But as she reached the Bullies booth, Troy slid his foot out. Emily tripped. The coffee spilled across the table, splashing onto Troy's sleeve. "Are you kidding me?" he barked, standing abruptly. She stumbled back, hands shaking, breath catching. I'm sorry, it was just..." "No," Troy snapped, towering over her. "You did that on purpose." Emily froze. Noah rose silently from his booth. But he didn't intervene yet. Not until he understood the full situation. His eyes traveled over the scene. Troy's aggressive stance, Emily's trembling hands. The two friends smirking like spectators. Troy grabbed Emily's wrist. She gasped, trying to pull away. And that was the moment, the visible inciting incident. Noah stepped forward. "Let her go," he said calmly. Troy turned, scoffing. "Who the hell are you?" "Someone telling you that you're done." The diner fell silent except for the rain and a flickering fluorescent light. Troy laughed. His friends laughed. Emily's breath stuttered, partly in fear, partly in disbelief that someone had spoken up. Noah held Troy's gaze. Unblinking, after a tense beat, Troy let go, wiping his sleeve as if she'd dirted him. "Relax," Troy muttered. "We're just having fun." Emily backed up toward the counter, breathing shakily. Noah returned quietly to his booth, but his eyes stayed alert. Troy stared at Noah's table, jaw tightening. "This isn't over," he muttered. The diner felt smaller now, tenser. Rain pounded harder, like the world outside sensed what was brewing. Emily brought towels to clean the spilled coffee. Her hand still shook as she dabbed at the booth. "Are you okay?" Noah asked quietly from his table. She nodded, but her eyes glistened. "Thank you," she whispered, not meeting his gaze. "You didn't have to say anything." "I know," he replied gently. "But I couldn't not." She exhaled. A tiny, trembling released a T the far booth. Troy watched them interact, irritation flickering in his eyes. His friends whispered. One of them murmured, "Man, just leave it." But Troy's pride didn't take orders. He stood, slid out of the booth, and walked toward Noah. Emily froze mid-wipe. Troy stopped at Noah's table. "You think she needs a hero?" "That it?" Noah looked up slowly. "No, I think she needs respect." Troy leaned down, hands on the table. "You don't know who you're talking to." "And you don't know who you're talking to," Noah replied. Quietly, not threatening, just truth. A long, heavy silence. Emily swallowed hard. Her fingers gripped the towel like it was an anchor. The taxi driver at the counter turned slightly, sensing trouble. Noah didn't stand. He didn't need to. His calmness unnerved Troy more than any escalation could. Troy huffed, stepped back, and returned to his booth. But his eyes stayed on Noah, burning with humiliation. Emily stepped closer. "He's not going to let this go," she whispered. "I know," Noah said. "Why are you so calm?" Noah took a slow breath, eyes drifting to the rain-streaked window. "Because I've seen worse than men like him." Emily studied him, confusion softening into curiosity. "Are you military?" He gave a faint smile. "Something like that." She nodded. Another moment of quiet. Then the diner door opened again. But this time, the air changed. Two NYPD officers walked in. One male, one female, responding to a call from earlier when a passerby had reported shouting inside the diner. Before they even asked questions, Troy jumped up. "Officers, good thing you're here." Emily stiffened. Noah sensed danger. Troy pointed at Noah. "He threatened us. This guy's been harassing the waitress too. Look at her. She's scared." Emily's head snapped up. "What? That's not." But Noah placed a gentle hand on the air, stopping her. "Let him talk." The officers turned to Noah. "Sir, mind if we ask you to step outside?" Emily shook her head desperately. "No, please, he didn't do anything." Troy overrode her. "She's terrified of him. You can see it." One officer looked at Emily's trembling posture, misreading it entirely. Noah stood slowly. His reflection shimmered in the rain-dappled window. "All right," he said softly. "Let's go outside." Emily reached toward him. "No, don't." He turned to her, voice calm. "It's all right, Emily." It wasn't all right. Outside, the cold rain slapped against the sidewalk. Noah stood with the officers under the awning. One officer crossed his arms. "We got a call. Witness says there was yelling. Anything you want to tell us?" Before Noah answered, Troy came out behind them, smug. Noah's jaw tightened. Not in fear, in restraint. He looked at the officers. "I didn't yell. I told him to let the waitress go when he grabbed her wrist." The officers exchanged a look. Troy stepped in. "She spilled coffee on me deliberately. She's been acting weird all night." One officer asked, "The waitress, can she confirm your version?" Troy smirked. "She works here alone. Who's she gonna side with?" Inside the diner, Emily pressed her palm against the glass, breath fogging it, watching helplessly. Noah was alone. He had no witnesses, no badge, no authority, just truth. And truth wasn't loud enough tonight. But then the taxi driver stepped outside, wiping rain from his brow. "Officers," he called. "I saw everything. The kid here didn't do a damn thing wrong. Those three were picking on the girl." Troy's smirk faltered. Inside, Emily blinked, stunned. The female officer nodded slowly. "Thank you, sir. That helps." As they walked back in to verify Emily's statement, Troy hissed at Noah under his breath. "You think this changes anything?" Noah stepped closer, voice barely audible. "Yes, it changes you." Troy scoffed. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means you won't forget tonight," Noah replied. "And someday, you'll wish you acted differently." That line landed like a punch without movement. Inside, Emily confirmed everything. When the officers left, Troy's friends immediately stood to go, embarrassed, shaken, but Troy lingered, staring at Noah with a mix of anger and something else, shame. Emily stepped toward Noah. "I don't know how to thank you." "You already did," he said softly. "You told the truth." She blinked at him, tears fighting to escape. That moment, her trembling exhale, his soft half-smile, froze in time. Noah finally sat back down, looked into his empty coffee cup, and whispered almost to himself, "I couldn't protect someone once." Emily heard it. Her breath stilled. The rain eased into a soft drizzle. tapping gentle rhythms on the diner roof. The chaos settled, leaving behind the quiet after a storm, and the raw, fragile stillness of people left alone with their thoughts. Emily walked over to Noah's booth, hands clasped in front of her. "Can I sit?" she asked softly. He nodded. She slid into the seat across from him, eyes gentle but searching. "What did you mean earlier? You couldn't protect someone once?" Noah looked down at his hands, steady now, but scarred. "My sister," he said quietly. "Years ago, someone hurt her. I wasn't there." Emily's breath caught. I'm so sorry." He nodded once, looking out the rain-dimmed window. "I promised myself I'd never look away again. Not from anyone being mistreated. Doesn't matter if they're family or a stranger." Emily stared at him, her eyes reflecting a softness reserved for the rare people who show kindness without asking for anything in return. "You kept that promise tonight," she whispered. Before Noah could respond, the diner door creaked open. Troy stood there, alone. His clothes were damp from the rain. His jaw clenched. But something in his eyes had changed, a crack in the armor. Emily instinctively tensed. Noah noticed and stood, stepping subtly between her and Troy without making it obvious. Troy didn't approach aggressively. He approached slowly, hands visible. He began, clearing his throat. "I wanted to say something." Emily stiffened. Troy swallowed, eyes flicking between them. Look, I acted like a jerk. Worse than a jerk. I know it." He hesitated, wetting his lips. "I don't know why I get like that. But I'm sorry. For grabbing you. For everything." Emily blinked, stunned. Troy turned to Noah. "And you? I don't know what your deal is, but you didn't have to step in. Most people don't." Noah said nothing. Troy exhaled shakily. "I just didn't want the night to end with me being that guy." Emily softened slightly. Not forgiveness, but acknowledgement. "Thank you," she whispered. Troy nodded once and walked back into the rain, disappearing into the city hum. The moment hung between them, not dramatic, not cinematic, but real. Noah looked at Emily. "You okay?" She nodded, tears welling. "Yeah, better than okay." The taxi driver waved on his way out. "Take care, kid," he said to Noah with a knowing smile. Emily turned back to Noah. "Do you want another coffee?" "On the house." Noah smiled gently. "Only if you sit with me while I drink it." She returned the smile, a real one this time, and poured 2 cups. They sat in quiet companionship, steam rising between them. A moment later, Emily spoke. "You know, people don't usually come into my life on nights like this. No one plans these nights," Noah said softly. She laughed quietly. "You know what I mean." He did. When Noah finally stood to leave, Emily walked him to the door. The streetlight outside flickered on, bathing the wet pavement in gold. "Will I see you again?" she whispered. Noah paused, offering a gentle, hopeful smile. "If you want to." "I do," she said. He nodded. "Then you will." He stepped onto the sidewalk. Rain dripped from the diner awning. Emily watched him go, hand resting lightly against the glass door. Before turning the corner, Noah glanced back, just once, and she smiled. The city hummed. The night breathed, and a quiet stranger left behind a justice no one expected. Moral: true strength isn't in standing tall, but in standing up for someone who can't.